and blame China. The answer is we should blame China, not Chinese Americans, but we can't stop telling the truth because racists get the wrong idea.
The Blab.
Well, we are absolutely nothing if we are not totally ethnic, inclusive, enjoying all nationalities at all times. And welcome to the Blab for you, or I'm not even going to say the date, because if you're watching this like 5 years in the future and I tell you what date it is, you're going to go, well, why did he tell me that? Because it's the date. Yes! And I know you're noticing. Dave's not here, man. It's a catchphrase that caught on a long, long time ago. But good news, we're just following the rules as far as the social isolation. What the hell is it? Social distancing. And he's actually right here. There you go. Hey, nice virtual presence device.
Because I'm lagging, I don't see it yet.
I know you have to kind of just lean because we're doing that thing they do on all the news networks where they talk and then the guys talk. There you are. Wait, I want to see you wave in that thing. That would be cool. That would scare the living shit out of me if you could wave in that thing. That would what that would do.
Yes. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling fine, but I haven't been anywhere except inside my house doing taxes and taking care of what they call first world problems, putting the pool pump out and then taking it back in again and putting the pool pump back out and taking it in again, and poor me. Anyway, you didn't see you probably didn't see because it was real short. The opening little bit that I used was something about Bill Maher on his comments the other day about PC in Japan. And we're going to, listen to me, China. Well, they all look alike. We're going to get back to that in just a minute. But first of all, as always, it's the big story. And today's big story kind of came along today. I had to do a little fast rewriting because everybody's talking about it, and it's not Corona. No, it's about time that you people understand and start to totally get it.
The President of the United States calls the shots. If we weren't here for the states, you would have had a problem in this country like you've never seen before. We were here to back them up, and we've more than backed them up. We did a job that nobody ever thought was possible. It's a decision for the President of the United States. Now, with that being said, we're going to work with the states because it's very important. You have a couple of bands of Democrat governors, but they will agree to it. They will agree to it. But the authority of the President of the United States having to do with the subject we're talking about is total.
Total. It's not just a breakfast cereal anymore. You know, I don't know whether because you said you were working today, we had a big windstorm here through the last 24 hours, 36 hours. And Dave, in his real life job, was out there working with nature and shit. So he probably didn't have a chance to see the firestorm that.
Nature stuff.
Today's Donald Firestorm talking about he has total authority to do blah, blah. And even the Republicans, except for Mitch, who never talks about anything, they're rolling their eyes and shaking their heads. And they're saying, Donald. And you know what? Because I know you're worn out from your day's endeavors, and I don't want us to get super intense. So let me just, rather than get into a back and forth with the I know you are, but what am I kind of thing with this and Donald, and what he says and what he does and the usual bullshit, let me just offer you this one statement that somebody put in the comment thread after they saw. And by the way, that video clip was the softer of the two when he was talking to somebody, because he was talking to another reporter and he got pretty much metaphorically in her face and just said, I have total authority, fuck you, I'm going to do whatever I want whenever I want. The same crap he pulled with the impeachment business or whatever that was a few months back. But somebody in the comment thread said something very succinct, and I looked at that and I said, there it is. That's it in a nutshell. And no real argument has to take place after that. And this is what he wrote. And he put it in quote marks because he was putting the words in Donald's mouth. Quote, my authority is total. My accountability and responsibility is zero. Unquote. After
Sounds
that,
about right.
what do you say to that? I mean, after that, that's exactly what the story is. It would be one thing if he's showing us his balls and saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But if it all goes south, then I'm the guy on the carpet. But he never does that. It's that weaselly shit that makes people crazy.
Yeah, let me put this out there.
No, I don't show that to people. Oh, no, no. He's not on camera. He can't show that to people.
Well, all of the governors in the nation have issued state executive orders.
Right.
You know, and they're issued obviously by the governor who runs the state.
Right.
So it's normally up to the governor to undo those.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Right.
Now, to date, Trump has only issued national recommendations to the state.
Right.
Now, I don't know. You know, I'm not a constitutional attorney. I don't know what the parameters or if they would be different if it was if it was a national executive order that had been issued. Maybe then that would be his call. I don't, like I said, I'm not a constitutional attorney, but he's not issued anything like that. So I don't see possibly how any of that makes sense, what he said.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Hi.
Yeah.
Have we met?
But
And I'm not going to unduly pound on the guy because he's a moron and I live with it every single day. But this is the thing. And a lot of I can't remember her name. She's the number 2 or number 3 Republican dog in the Senate. It's a she. I can't remember her name off the top. She even tweeted back and said it was kind of sweet. I wish I should have pulled it up, but I didn't have time. It was the tweet equivalent of an eye roll. She was like, no, he doesn't. No,
I think her name is a lot of vagina.
a lot of vagina. Wait a minute, hang on.
He said,
There you go. Oh, by the way, somebody said to tell you hello. Yeah, and again, now what you mentioned the governors. That's interesting. I don't know, and again, I'm maybe feeding you info because you've been a busy boy today, and God bless you for doing the hard work. But California, Oregon, and Washington State. Have you heard about this Western States Pact today?
No.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom of California had a little whatever the press statement was or announcement or something. I didn't see any video on it, and he said that he and Kate Brown, who's the governor of Oregon, and Jay Inslee, who's the governor of Washington State, have formed a Western States Pact. And they did a public statement, and I read through it. It was very well and articulated, and it basically said, there's strength in numbers, and we're going to band together to help each other to make this, get our economies up and running again, but we're going to do it with common sense, and we're going to do it with a measure that is good for everybody and public health. Remember that old-fashioned shit we used to do a long time ago where although there was a lot of selfish interest in politics, always somehow stuff bubbled to the surface that was like, yeah, they're going to do the right thing ultimately. That seems to be what's
Right.
going on. And it was as much of a fuck off to Donald Trump as one could say fuck off to Donald Trump without fearing that he would cut off their water supply or, send the Marines in there to assassinate all of them. And I just thought, you know what, there you go. It's nice to see the system, the American system, the total system, working in that way. Because they're saying,
Yeah, I think
we're running our states. That's it.
Yeah, Scott, I think Cuomo, the governor of Connecticut, Cuomo, and I believe New Jersey have all they formed an Eastern Seaboard Pact or something
There
like
you
that.
go.
Cuomo was actually on Stern yesterday morning,
Right.
which was very a little eye opening. He was very complimentary to Trump.
Yeah.
He said, we have our disagreements, but everything I've asked for, he's given me.
Right.
And he said I can get him on because Howard asked him, what's the process to get Trump on the phone? And Cuomo's like, I call him.
Right.
And he gets right on the phone.
Right.
So I was like, wow.
Yeah. Well, he's never ducked it. And in all the conversations you and I have had too, and I'll reiterate what I've said before, I've never denied that he gets things done or that he accomplishes things. All I've ever said is that he never does it under any circumstances without there being something in it for him personally, because he's a narcissist.
Right.
And that's, to me, it's my favorite phrase. It's ranking right up there at the top of the ladder for the whole year so far. Collateral benefit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once
And
again,
you are the creator of that.
I am. And that one, and the problem with freedom is that you have to give it to everybody, but there's a little of that coming up shortly. So, I say great to the governors, any governor of the states, and they're not, and the reason why, frankly, and this is where the naysayers are going to come back with, he's the president, and, fuck off. Just because here's what they're doing. They're injecting common sense into something that
Right.
has very little common sense at play when Donald gets around with it, because Donald is so obsessed with being the guy that shoves to the head of the line and takes the credit for everything, that if he happens to get something done, but as you've heard me say a kabillion times, and here's a kabillion and one, he's just in the way.
Well, he throughout this entire process of the coronavirus, from when it hit to now, I don't pay so much attention to what he says. He's boisterous, and he's a New Yorker, and he's loud, and he's done a lot of right things during this. He's said mostly wrong things, but his actions have been fairly positive, as far as, he wanted to open the fucking country a month ago.
Well,
But,
I agree, but
what I mean?
here's what remains to be seen. What remains to be seen is how far, and frankly, I think he undercuts himself. And this makes it one more thing when I say that if I was advising him, if anybody could advise him, I'd say, Mr. President, you're an idiot, because you shoot yourself in the foot every time you open your mouth. Do you really want to be reelected? Do you have any comprehension how many people there are in this country who are just so exhausted from watching you go through this bullshit? And it's even gotten, the exhaustion is doubled, because now it's like, well, we're going to do it my way. We're going to do it my way. We're going to do it my way. Well, okay. Well, all right. Well, no, and you they end up doing it the common sense way most of the time anyway, a little too late and $1 short. But instead of just sucking it up and doing it that way in the first place, and a lot of intelligent people are going, God, for God's sake, man, enough already.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, I see it.
Already. All right. Hang on. We'll be right back.
You got it.
Santino, what have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully?
All right. When we let off, Bill Maher had a show, and it was kind of weird because they're all doing their shows from home, and they've got their cameras pointed at him. And this one was particularly off-putting. I found it very distracting because all the guys are like using their cell phones or whatever they're doing to do it. But he apparently did too. And you'll notice in the piece, because I'm going to play one little quick segment here, he's not looking at the camera. He's looking to the right of the camera the whole time. And I know that there's an artistic thing that they do sometimes where they do a cut. You're looking and then you're looking away and you see the side view, but that's not it at all. He was just, apparently they couldn't put the camera in front of him while he was doing his thing, and I found it a little off-putting. Not to distract you, but let's talk about China vis-a-vis Bill Maher. All right, this particular film clip in its entirety came to me courtesy of our virtual presence co-host, Dave Simmons. And he said, take a look at this. Tell me what you think. Dave, known me a long time, knows better than to ask me what I think. What the hell are you doing? But he said something in the intro piece you may not have caught, Dave, because of the lag. And I'm going to play it, and it's another short little shot, and then I'm going to give it 2 beats so you can catch up and we can talk about this a little bit. This was, to me, of everything that Bill was ragging on about, don't call it the Chinese virus. Well, it is the Chinese virus, and it's hypocritical to go into all this political crap, blah, blah, politically correct crap because of that, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, this was the key phrase of what he said. Check this out.
We should blame China, not Chinese Americans.
It's that simple. We should blame China, but not Chinese Americans. That makes sense. Now, I don't want to set you up like Lucy in the football, but and the combination of whatever else Bill said, but that right there, what was your feeling about what he was talking about?
Oh, I agreed with. I know Trump was doing it because he knew it pissed people off, and that's why he does a lot of the things he does. Because he's got an abrasive personality. But I didn't understand why the reporters were arguing with him about it being called the Chinese virus. You know what I mean? Because it's from China, and Chinese Americans aren't from China. They have relatives from China, but they're Americans. I just, and every other disease is named from where it originated.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Spanish flu, West Nile virus. You
Harlem
go right down
Shuffle.
the line. Yeah, the Harlem Shuffle.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a little ridiculous when it was, when they were ragging him on it. But
well, there's two things.
I agree with Bill Maher.
There's two things in play. Number one, let's just talk straight, like we always do anyway. The reporters, in their own way, and again, I'm explaining. I'm not defending necessarily. I'm just giving you cogent analysis from my perspective. Reporters, like anybody else, they've put up with 4 years of his provoking, provocateur, obnoxious bullshit, and now it's become probably ingrained in them, no matter how inappropriate it may be. It's a perfectly human response. Somebody wants to just nail him. They want him to say something really, really stupid, and they're goading him to really say something stupid. Now, is that a way to conduct yourself if you're a professional journalist broadcaster? No, but we don't live in normal times, so there's that. And again, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying.
Right.
But and you know me, I'm always looking for the thing under the thing. Here's the thing under the thing for my 2 cents of this. And I watched the whole thing with Maher. And basically, that's what he said. It's ridiculous to go through this rigmarole of having to call it something else because it is the Chinese virus. And yes, we should blame the Chinese. But again, the key phrase that caught my ear was, but not Chinese Americans. Well, that sounds like common sense. Common decency. The point's well taken. If we lived in normal, quacky, worky, quirky, nutty America with the assorted nuts and the whack jobs, but with lots of people, good people of integrity, who step up when they see bigotry and injustice and ignorance and et cetera, but we don't live in that country right now. We live in fucked up Trump America. Cheap shots, low blows, that's considered strength and integrity and leadership. Let me show you leadership. This is what it looks like. I'll play this fucking clip every chance I get in every venue I get for the rest of my life until this guy is history. Because that's the leader of the free world right there. All right. Now, in that context, what Maher said was correct. I think fair and reasonable under normal circumstances. There's the asterisk, okay? But in Trump world, putting other nations and people from other nations in their place is now considered presidential. Okay? So here's what you're saying to me, and I would say under normal circumstances that I agree with you 100%. But let me put it to you in the language I think would come out of the mouth of one of the red cap dudes. Hey, the fucking virus did start in China, and if a few slanties got to get bitch slapped a little bit, well, that's just the price they got to pay because America comes first, motherfuckers. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, well, watch this. I don't remember the young guy's name because I didn't pull that information. And yes, these kinds of things happen all the time everywhere, and it's not the first time that it's happened in the history of man, and Donald Trump didn't create bigotry, prejudice, racism, et cetera, et cetera. But this kid right here, because I remember the specific news story, got the shit beat out of him, and the ranting that was going on while the great patriotic Americans were pounding on him was something to the effect of, you and your Chinese motherfucking friends brought the virus here and you're killing us and blah, blah, blah. Now, if that's the case, then, and correct me if I'm wrong, well, I'm not wrong. How about this? Just disagree with me if you feel differently about it. To me, the fact that calling it the Chinese virus and saying, well, it is a Chinese virus, if in the volatile, hostile situation that we find ourselves in, and something that Donald tends to encourage and incite rather than tamper down or ratchet down, to me, common sense and common decency would say that we need to do everything we can do and anything we can do not to give the idiots and the inbreds and, yes, the deplorables a chance to pull any more shit than they're pulling. And my impression of the whole thing with Maher was, if he said that to me and we were in private conversation, if he said we should blame China because they're to blame, yeah, but not Chinese Americans, my immediate response would be back and say, well, Bill, how are you going to control that? And saying Chinese virus just makes it worse. It may not hurt, but it don't help. He wants to make the issue about PC. I think the issue's deeper than that. I think it's about freedom. And my old thing, the problem with freedom is you got to give it to everybody. Yes, you and I are free to call it the Chinese virus because it's from China. But that means we also have to give the mouth-drooling idiots the freedom to say Chinese virus while they're pounding Chinese people in the face because they brought the fucking virus over here.
Yeah, there are select groups of assholes in the world that would take it to that extreme. But and maybe there are more now than there have been in the past.
Well, you know what? Hold the rest of that thought, because I want you to see something that I pulled out to make my case, and then I'll let it go like a dog with a bone. Okay. But here's exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about what's happening. Instead of trying to ratchet it down or make it, put some integrity into the situation or human compassion or whatever, this is what we're dealing with at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
The day we take our country back. Remember that. So I got a little notice in case you see the security guys. We have wonderful security guys. They said, Mr. Trump, there may be somebody with tomatoes in the audience. So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously. Okay? Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees. I promise. I promise.
Okay, and just for the sake of it, and Dave, I'm not singling you out in particular. I'm just saying to anybody in general, please don't come at me with, well, that was when he was campaigning. What the fuck difference does that make? It's Donald Trump. That's who he is. And he hasn't
that's his personality.
And he hasn't changed a lick. Yeah, except now he's the president of the United States, and a lot of the things that he says has. And to me, in my head, in my strange brain, when you got a guy like that at the wheel, there's a very, very, very thin line, almost invisible, between saying, well, it is a Chinese virus, and saying, well, hell, he and his little girlfriend there walking into my Burger King. They're chinks, ain't they? Well, I call them that while I pound them. You know what I'm saying? Backing off of it. And call it coronavirus. Nobody can get excited about that. Why go out of our way to make things, it's the right principle at the wrong time, is all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, you do have a point. I just that the world has become so politically correct, and I see where Bill Maher was coming from. That pretty much anything, people were just looking to be offended.
They are not, and that offends me. No,
doesn't matter what the topic, doesn't matter what you're discussing.
I agree.
I agree. They're just looking to be offended. And,
I agree.
And at some point, you have to draw the line, and that's where Bill Maher decided to draw his line.
Well, I would disagree with him. I would disagree with where he drew it, not the fact that he wanted to draw it.
Right.
And this is what I'm saying. Why give fuel to the fools? And that's what it does.
Well, yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. All right. For the purposes of making it known that Dave and I don't pretend to be experts. Well, yeah, we do. We pretend to be experts a lot. We don't profess to be. But when it comes down to really getting to the core of these very volatile issues, I always feel like wherever we can find real honest-to-God experts, I think we should go looking for them. And so I asked somebody who's now become a fan favorite and also a personal favorite of ours here on the program to weigh in with her point of view on what's going on with the China thing. Because Cardi B bitching, man.
Let me tell you something. There's been a lot of shots been thrown at each other right now. A lot of people I don't know if y'all noticed, they're trying to play it kind of cool, but there's a little going on between America and China. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, 45 kind of disrespected China. He backtracked it. You know what I'm saying? He backtracked. You know what I'm saying? He backtracked. But there is people feeling a certain type of way. That's why old boy came out trying to expose China with that TikTok thing, because there's a lot of tension going on. Now, God forbid that we ever have to go to war. First of all, our last war wasn't that long ago. What was it, like 100 years, 90 some shit years? Last war was in 45. That wasn't long ago. That wasn't long ago. So it can happen again. Do you really want this man to be in charge if, God forbid, we get into some war? Because I feel like that's the direction that we're going on. There's been a lot of tension. It's been a lot of tension. And you know what I noticed? A lot of our textbooks, I'm disappointed. Very disappointed in our textbook.
Ladies and gentlemen, the political wit and wisdom of Edward Scissorhands.
Did she have a point? Did she have a point?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was a point. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Listen, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Our last war was 100 years ago.
100 years ago, motherfucker. 100 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have time to throw the wonderful Danny Elfman score from Edward Scissorhands underneath there, but I thought, that's not to do.
She's a national treasure. Yes, she is.
You know what? I could see her very easily taking Ivanka's place in the whole circle of things if she plays her cards right. You know what I mean?
The nails are too long. She couldn't take them off the place.
All right, let's do the stick of the week.
Up your ass! Up your ass! Up your ass!
All right, Bon Vivant Rock on Tour and my cordial virtual presence co-host is awarding the stick of the week this week to, as he fed me the information, political finger pointers. So what's your problem with finger pointing? It's a good
Well, this is my problem, Scott. and I'm going to start this out, and you'll see why I'm doing this a little bit later in my rant.
Okay.
I'm going to start this out by saying
I'm going out for a smoke. Right?
No response to a pandemic is good enough. None. No response to a pandemic is good enough, and I'll put that out there.
Okay.
So the political finger pointing is just out of control, especially when we're going through the things that we're going through as a country right now. You have Nancy Pelosi. She's saying that the deaths are on Trump for downplaying the COVID-19 virus when the World Health Organization and every news network did the same fucking thing. They said it's not an issue. It can't be contracted person to person. I mean, there's actual video footage of all this bullshit. Schumer attacked Trump on being asleep at the wheel and having no plan on February 24th. And that was the month after Trump, who on nearly a month, on January 31st, had declared a national health emergency. So, and he'd already put travelers who had been exposed in areas under quarantine when they returned to the country, and closed the borders to people who had recently traveled to China, which obviously Schumer opposed. Now, Trump attacked the Obama administration for not claiming they did nothing during the H1N1 breakout. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but he's finger pointing at the Obama administration, which is ridiculous. And McConnell, I mean, I don't even know what he said or did, but I'm sure he said or did something. So I'm going to circle back to the beginning, and I need to stress this. No response to a pandemic is good enough. People die, and if one person dies, Scott, that's one person too many.
Well, I'm not sure I understand your exact meaning of the term "no response is good." Are you saying that?
No.
Are you saying that none of the responses that we're seeing from any of these people is any good?
No response is good enough.
Okay. From I'm still
from any of them.
okay.
From any of them.
Well, okay, that was my point.
Yes. And no response is good enough from any other pandemic we've had in history. Okay, as I said, if one person dies, that's one person too many.
Depends
so
on
no matter what you do, you're fucked
depends on the person.
as a leader. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I know what I'm saying.
That is what I am saying.
You know what I'm saying?
You know,
what I'm
every
saying?
decision that you make is dissected by, the right or the left. Instead of trying to work together and do what's best for the country to minimize the death toll, everybody wants to point fingers. I mean, it got so bad. Chris Hayes, you know him? He's a MSNBC host.
Yeah.
He floated this idea that the Trump administration inflated the numbers, the death numbers that could possibly happen. You know, like when they said 2 million could die. So when the revised numbers came out, he would look good.
Right.
That's how ridiculous this shit has gotten. So the finger pointing by the left and the right it's not doing anybody any good. It's exhausting me. And the last thing I want to be is fucking exhausted, Scott. Jesus Christ.
I'm laughing with you, buddy, not at you. That's right. Well, see, here you go. We've all needed some kind of real sort of, keep America great. Fuck that. That didn't fly because Make America Great didn't work so hot either. But I'm thinking right now as a rallying cry, I can see right now I'm visualizing Norma Ray with a piece of cardboard and she's writing and she's climbing up on the table and she's about to hold it up and show it to everybody. Remember that scene where it says union, union, okay? Only now instead it says Dave is fucking exhausted. And
I'm exhausted.
That right there should be the rallying cry. You know what, though? Well, not though, and in addition to, as you were relaying your sharing, and on behalf of all of us at Trump Anonymous, I want to thank you for that sharing. Thank you, Dave. I agree. I know I have it in my brain. I don't remember when I said it. It's been a while, and I probably said it in a different context, or maybe not. I think where we are, and philosophically, metaphorically, politically, and sociologically, and I have some experience with this, and I think the last time we talked about it, I made mention of the fact that you grew up in a relatively stable, relatively normal, loving, caring home.
Yeah.
I grew up in a broken home that was broken 16 ways from Sunday, and then I got into broken. It was a whole long, and not poor me. I'm just saying in the contrast. So I know about what I'm talking about when I say what I'm about to say. I think that America has reached the point, for a variety of reasons, and I will not be a hypocrite and back off and say I think there are many people contributing to the issue, but the larger inciter problem of it was Trump and continues to be. But that said, it's like a family. It's like a married couple that are battling in a marriage that's over. And they either can't divorce each other, or they won't divorce each other, or circumstances won't let them divorce each other. And everyone around them who's not immediately involved in one side or the other, and there aren't that many, trust me, when those situations happen, everybody else in the circle is just emotionally exhausted because nobody's going to let up. The fucking marriage just needs to end.
Well, that's coming. That's coming. In November, we'll see if it ends. But, and look, during the H1N1 outbreak, I think, 13,000 people died. 2 million people came down with it. Obama was doing everything he felt he should.
Right.
At the time, he felt he should.
Right.
And yet he was criticized relentlessly. I mean, if you fast forward to today, I mean, you hate him. I know you hate him. Trump is doing everything that he thinks he should, when he thinks he should, or when he's advised he should. And believe it or not, he has done things that have cut or minimized the loss. And he's doing the best he can.
Well,
I mean,
I'll give you that.
I know he can do. You can always do better, but I'm saying he's doing the best he can. And so I don't understand the finger pointing, the constant bickering.
I just explained it. I just explained it to you.
Yeah.
It's a divorcing couple. Everybody's right and everybody's wrong, and nobody's going to let up. All right, because they just won't. I can't, and I'm not going to give. I wish I had the little violin music, the one that goes. And I would tell you about being a 13-year-old kid laying in the bed, listening to my father drunkenly screaming and wondering whether he was going to start smacking my mother around again and whether I was going to have to go downstairs and get in between him at the age of 13. Now, poor me, boo-hoo. But I'm just saying, and even at 13, I remember laying in the fucking bed thinking, just get a fucking divorce. But, okay, and unfortunately, this situation is such that we can't exactly do that either because it's the perfect storm. A perfect storm of emotional conflict, et cetera, et cetera. So you're absolutely right. They're all doing it, but they're all going to continue to do it because this is not the flu this is not political flu. This is political cancer. And
now that's a good analogy.
Thank you. It's what I do.
And you know what else, Scott?
What else?
I'm fucking exhausted.
I'm going to get a picture of Norma Ray holding the sign up saying, there you go. Oh, and by the way, I put this in just because I said last week I wish I had it. And I'm going to throw it in because you were still trying to find the glass half full and give Trump the benefit of the doubt. So never fear, kids. Donald's coming. That's the new theme song. All right, let's do the wheel, baby.
I'll give you a topic. Discuss.
All right, there is a whole bunch of stuff going on. I don't know what you got on your. You've been a busy boy this week. Let me.
Got a few things.
All right, well, let me start one off here, and we don't have to wander down the path too far. But Bernie has endorsed Joe Biden and Barack Obama today, and I didn't have time to throw the video up. He did it on a nice 7, 8, 9-minute testimonial to Biden. So now Joe has Bernie and Barack in his corner, and let the game.
Wait a minute. Barack reluctantly.
Well, he was okay behind the scenes. The video was nothing but Bernie, maybe, but Barack was nothing but gracious. And you know something, and this'll make the Obama haters crazy, but I don't fucking care. Because I believe it, and you know me now well enough to know I'm not a racist. I'm not. I'm a hard head and opinionated and stubborn and all the other things, but I'm a pretty decent fellow underneath it all. But I will tell you this, and I believe this in my heart, not even in my, I get pissed off about this kind of emotional stuff. If Barack Obama was white, motherfucker would be on Mount Rushmore.
I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, I think people would have a different opinion of it.
Well, that's a polite way to say, yeah. But nevertheless, let's just, okay. Same reason the country, it goes back to an entire different discussion that we could do a whole show on, and maybe one of these days we will. It's going to be the fact that he got elected in the first place was a freak of nature. And I'm not.
Oh, dude, no, I mean, he was, it was, you know what? It was almost a perfect storm like Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, the country was at a crossroads, and
yeah,
the moment seized itself, I think.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Anyway, I threw it out to say Bernie and Barack have both endorsed Joe, and so now he's got everybody from that side of the street in his camp. And as I said in the little fun promo that I did earlier today, it's go time. Mandelbaum.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who he picks as a running mate.
You want to make a prediction? Yeah. Are you prepared to make a prediction?
No, I'm not prepared to. I tell you who the fuck I hope it's not. It's Kamala Harris. That bitch makes my skin crawl. But
well,
I could take any of the other potential people
now,
that they've
without spending 20 minutes on it. Give me wrap it up in 60 seconds worth of Dave Simmons' chocolatey goodness. What is it that turns you so off of Kamala Harris? I mean, I understand if you don't care for her or you're opposed to her points of view, but making my skin
I'm-
crawl
I'm-
is
I'm
one of those
opposed-
hyperboles that makes me think that you're overreacting, and I'd like to hear what you got to say about it.
No. Well, number one, the entire basis of her when she was trying to run for president was race baiting. I mean, she came at Biden about busing. You know, she was the little girl that was bus. I mean, it was just complete fucking bullshit. So the thing that, and her whole start in the political career, she was having an affair with a person above her. I just, there's not much there. There's really not much there, Scott.
Okay.
You know, any of the other potential candidates that they've mentioned, you know, I'm fine with.
Well, to her credit, she never grabbed anybody's pussy that we know of.
No, but I think Biden did, and that's a whole nother fucking discussion.
You know what? I'm gonna wrap up that discussion right now and tell you that
Okay.
for the duration of the election season, let me explain something to you as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
And if you want to bring that argument on anybody else from here on out, I'll be happy to talk to you about it. But you need to understand where I stand on this, okay?
Okay.
On that issue, I don't fucking care.
I know.
This country, and I used to. I really used to. And I'm not saying that to say anybody but Trump. I'm saying, in fact, we have Donald Trump to thank for that. That part of it, that, you know, John Kennedy would never have been elected if all his womanizing had gotten out before the election. All that shit, it's over. Donald was elected and has a chance to be reelected, and he's the slimiest, misogynistic motherfucker that's ever walked the face of the earth. And so, okay, more power to him, but holding anybody else to a standard of that kind of stuff is hypocrisy of a galactic.
Oh, I'm not even talking. No, the point I was making, Scott, had nothing to do with Biden and holding him to a standard.
Well, you said something about it. I'm just saying.
I'm looking at the liberal fucking media who went after Kavanaugh with somebody that wasn't even sure she met him, with no fucking evidence. And this story has been completely buried by the liberal media.
Okay.
And you know it.
So?
You know, so yeah, it's convenient. When it's convenient, it's believe all women until it's the person you want to be president. That's you know, the Me Too movement at its finest.
Okay. Yeah,
You
yeah. Oh, no, there's no argument. You're right. I agree. Correct. All I'm saying is that it doesn't matter because
it doesn't matter.
And again, Donald Trump inadvertently has set the bar, and not only because of the sexuality stuff, because of everything else in a character. If Donald Trump was really delivering, see, this would have made me, I probably would have had to drive my car off a cliff. Thank God that Donald Trump turned out to be the incompetent fuck that I thought he was going to be from the get-go. Because if he had actually turned out to be able to get stuff done, I mean really get stuff done and not just stumble into it like he's been doing, if he'd been able to build the wall, if he'd have been able to crush Obamacare and put this magic health care plan, if he was a real successful president, if he was a Franklin Roosevelt or a Lyndon Johnson, and he was the living, breathing asshole that he is, I'd have to shoot myself. Because he's done me an enormous favor by not being able to get shit done as far as those kinds of things are concerned. But what I'm saying is that in the long run, you know, it's like with everybody else from here on out, and Republicans too, anybody else who runs for the office, as far as I'm concerned, for the remainder of my days, if you can get the job done, you can be fucking Attila the Hun for all I care.
Oh, and as I said, I wasn't even bringing Joe into it.
Well, you mentioned Joe when I said pussy grab.
Well, I said the sexual assault allegations has not even touched the liberal media.
Well, okay, and you know what? Can I just offer you something as an older man with some sage wisdom? May I be Yoda to your Luke Skywalker for just a moment?
Yeah.
When you say liberal media, you're being redundant. Everybody knows, including hard-headed libtard snowflake me, that the media is liberal. So it's the media. Okay.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, they went after Kavanaugh with a fervor. You know,
of course they did.
And you know, they just totally disregard this because he's the great white hope.
Well, I certainly hope so. All right, let me. What are we doing? Time was we're okay. What was one other? Oh, you got one. What do you got?
Well, I have two things.
Yes, you do.
Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. They are now.
Isn't he the Secretary General of the United Nations?
Yes, Uber Eats.
Uber
yes.
Eats? Oh, wait a second.
They are actually the subject of a class action lawsuit because they're using monopoly power. They're charging as much as 40% of the purchase amount to deliver your meal.
It's called gouging.
Yeah.
Wartime profiteering.
Yep. That's basically, exactly. It's Corona time profiteering.
Like buying and selling masks to people instead of just giving them the damn masks in the first place.
Yes. So
Uh-oh, everybody, it's Corona time.
Hey, it's Corona time right now.
Okay.
I found that interesting. So if people out there in the Blab land want to order from Grubhub, DoorDash, or Uber Eats, be prepared to pay 1.5 times your meal.
Well, there's a lot of that going around because America, muggles.
And I get you with this every week. Do you know who Charles Calvin is?
Charles Calvin? Yeah, Charles Calvin was the guy who invented Calvin and Hobbes, the comic strip. No, he was.
Charles Calvin is a volunteer firefighter from New Chicago, Indiana. He was supposed to receive his $1,700 from his stimulus. His $1,200 plus $500 for his child. So he went to his ATM to withdraw $200.
Oh, I saw this.
I
didn't have time to read it, but yeah, I saw that.
Well, when he looked at his receipt, he noticed that his account balance was $8.2 million.
$8.2 million.
So basically, he did another transaction to make sure, that something wasn't misprint, and it said, $8.2 million. So he called his bank, and by the time that the bank looked into it, I guess whoever in the federal government made their mistake had backtracked the money out. He did get his $1,700, but for a brief moment, Calvin was a millionaire.
I have a theory. I just saw the headline, and without even finding the details there, the first thing that instinctively flashed into my mind was, well, by golly, he was looking for $1,200. He's got $8.2 million in his account. Donald must have taken the afternoon off to fill the ATM machines himself. So there's that.
He told the station, he said, you go from being a millionaire 1 second and back to being broke again.
And it's the American way of life. All right, I got something new I want to throw at you. It's a little mini segment, and you'll ride along for the fun of it. And we're going to call it Frankly.
I'm gonna live till I die. I'm gonna take the town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live until I die.
Talk about a guy that's going to live until he dies. Our buddy Frank Knotts. Dave's met Frank Knotts. He's a. When I was doing regular honest to gosh talk radio, substitutionally speaking, Frank was a frequent caller. He guested with me a couple of times on the Sunday night show. He's a very outspoken fellow, very highbrow intellectual. I'm not trying to be smarmy or blow smoke at him. It's just he's the also founder and CEO, I guess, as it were, of DelawareRight.com. That's RIGHT. It's a conservative blog site in which he blogs, and he's got a couple of guys on his staff, and they do, he's kind of he's an interesting fellow because he lives in Sussex County, Delaware, which is redder than, I was going to make a menstruation joke, but I won't do that, because I'm a classy guy. And yet well, let's put it this way. If Dave Simmons was older and a little more grizzled and a little bit more lean to the right than he is, but always willing to it would be like Frank Knotts. All right. Well, Frank's got this thing going on. He's on a tear on his Facebook page. He's really anti pretty much, and I don't want to speak out of turn, and I'm not trying to be snarky. I'm trying to describe the situation. Why I thought he'd be worth having on, even if he's not here with us once a week for a little thing, because these are kind of fun, and they're a nice springboard to chit-chat about it. He calls it Stupid Shit of the Day, which I guess is his version of Stick of the Week. It's not nearly as artistically clever as what we're doing, but then, what can I tell you?
Who is?
Frank is, that's right. Frank is busy, and he's working for a living, and, well, Dave's working too, but I'm free to float around and do shit, so there you go. Anyway, but he's right, except he's like I don't want to say strict constitution. He's a strict freedom guy in the sense that he is totally over the idea of any of this lockdown, closing businesses, etc. Okay, he's just he's against it. There you go. And he's been illustrating his point in a variety of humorous or I know that he's annoyed when he does it, but he calls it stupid shit of the day. And I picked this one so we could chat about it for a couple of minutes. And I'm lifting this right off of his Facebook page. And this is what he says. Quote, stupid shit of the day. So, I have to be 6 feet behind the customer in front of me, but I can stand next to the person in the other line 2 feet away. And yes, both lines were open. The only reason the businesses that are allowed to be open are going to such lengths is out of fear of having the heavy hand of government come down upon them. Put your hands together for Brother Frank Nuts. I laughed when I saw, and then 3 or 4 people posted additional pictures showing these. One of them was even worse. It was a picture of like 3 ATMs at some public place, and the camera angle was way back, and you could see they had the wait here, X, 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 and there were 3 of them. But the 3 fucking columns were about, if I reached out, like we say, dress right, dress, the old thing when we were kids, you couldn't extend your arm halfway out without touching the person next to you. So I thought, besides, he's absolutely right on that count. I just wondered if you had a feeling about that.
No, I tell you what, I actually went to grab a door for my mom at Lowe's, and the girl at the register was doing everything she can. She was wiping down the card reader between customers. She wiped down the whole count. I mean, the little girl was working her ass off.
Good for them.
So they had marks on the ground for where to check yourself out.
Right.
But it seemed like the farther the marks got back, the closer they were. So like the first few were like 6 feet, then a couple after that were 4 feet. Then there was just a bunch of lines.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
It's very easy to make fun, and I do it, and we do it, and Frank is as well. His point is well taken. What's the point in the 6 feet this way if you can't do the 6 feet the other way, which is basically what it is. That's common sense. But then I say, just in like not arguing, but just devil's advocate, okay, it comes out of the folder called doing something's better than doing nothing.
Right.
Because there seems to be some indication data-wise and numbers-wise that social distancing is having an effect on the infamous curve. And
yes, it is. It actually is.
I hope so, because there's a lot of people that I was telling my wife, she's an attorney. She has her own small firm, and things have been pretty like dead for several days. And she, like everybody else, is concerned about her livelihood and her career and paying for all the pretty things that I'm always asking for. And that she gives me. She's such a wonderful person. And I said to her, I said, I don't want to be glib or minimize your concerns. I said, but let me try to give you some encouragement here. I said, she works in family law, and she's not a divorce attorney per se, but she does divorce cases, and she does family custody and that kind of stuff. I said, once this even begins to settle down, I said, I have a feeling there's going to be a surge in that kind of business because there's a lot of people who are spending time with their spouses under pressure circumstances day in, day out that they have never had to do. And I have a feeling a lot of marriages are going to go south when this thing is over with for the time.
Yeah, I have some friends that that own businesses, and I really feel bad because they can't be open. But some of them think that it's not even having any kind of effect, and that the numbers are not correct and things of that nature, which we don't know if they are or not. But I'm always, better safe than sorry,
And you know what? This is a perfect metaphor. For me, it's a perfect metaphor for climate change. Because you've heard me say before, all this anti-climate change stuff, and I'm like, what's the harm in finding out? I agree. Better to be safe than sorry. What the fuck is the matter with you people? It's not about, it doesn't get any more complicated than that. And I said this the other day in one of the posts. I actually answered something that Frank was talking about, and I wasn't trying to bait him or argue with him. I was just offering my point of view as I would right here. This business, I understand the hardship, and I understand the concern and the fear that people have about not being able to make a living or pay their bills or with the rest of that kind of stuff. But it was, well, you know what? It happened today, and I posted again. And I this is real quickly, here's the point of view. And I don't think it gets considered enough in these situations. Somebody was talking about, they posted it, they were obviously upset, and they said, you know what? I'm sick of this mandatory stay at home. I'm a mature adult, and I don't need anybody telling me that I should stay at home. I have enough sense if I have to go out or I need to go out or want to go out to be able to do what I need to do to prevent this thing from spreading any further, and I resent the hell out of blah, 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 and da, da, da. Now, on the surface, that sounds perfectly reasonable.
Right.
But here was what old SEP had to offer up, and please feel free to dissent. I said, you know what gets lost here? What gets lost here, and this is where being a cynic pays off. That would be me. People forget, because we just do, that 99.99% of laws and rules and regulations are not put there for mature adults. They're put there for immature idiots who would do anything they want, whenever they want, however they want. And until, and I think the way I put it was, since scientists are busy trying to figure out a cure for corona and don't have time to figure out a test for idiot morons, the good, as it's always been, have to take the hit for the idiots. Same reason,
True.
the same reason there's a speed limit sign on that boulevard that says 55 miles an hour. Because if there wasn't, some fucking moron would fly through there at 120. It's a sad, tragic, rotten thing, but that's the way it is. And this stay-at-home business, I see that it is exactly what we're talking about. Good people don't have to, smart people don't have to be told to be careful and to be cautious and to not breathe and to wear the masks or to wear the gloves or do whatever it is they need to do. But you can't count on the immature morons doing anything except being immature morons. And so what do? You shove everybody, say, stay home. The good have to suffer with the bad. It's that simple.
Right. And Scott, I actually think when and if, you know, it's not if, it's when they start to reopen businesses,
Mm-hmm.
I think the mandatory mask thing is probably going to be the way to go.
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, why not?
You know,
Why not?
I think it's smart. I think the mandatory mask, you know, and gloves is the wise move. You know?
Yes, and to those people who are already half-cocked and ready to shoot off with their mouths or whatever orifices they're going to use to talk about their freedom, and this is America, and I can do whatever I want whenever I want, that kind of freedom is not freedom. That kind of freedom is selfishness.
Right.
And this is one of the, you know, if I was running for president, I'd run for president on a large part of my platform would be my thing about freedom without. You know what? I think it's time to reboot the whole freedom concept anyway. You don't get freedom without responsibility. You don't get it without accountability. We could do a whole show. Maybe we will down the road. I'll make a note. I've said this before. I think it's time to stop giving the vote in this country to people just because they turn 18 years old. Because that freedom gets abused. And that gets into a whole
Make them take a civics test.
Civics test at the very least. All right, real quick, so we don't get too dragged off. I wasn't going to do one because I was cranky, but I thought, well, I saw this and I wanted to share it. Dave had the stick this week. I got the Superstar. And I'm not playing the music because that runs like 20, 30 seconds, and I don't want to spend the time doing it. I just want to share this with you. somebody forwarded this morning, and you were talking about going in the store and the kid working really hard to clean the counter and the credit card machine, and these kids are working their hearts out at personal risk, by the way, to do these things. And this week's Superstar is collectively all those people who are working in the grocery stores and in those places in the liquor stores where we have to go, or we need to go. He published this, and I want to read it just as it is. I actually was a grocery store manager for a while in a previous life, so I feel a kinship here. Because I've been in radio and the music business, and if you've been in radio and or the music business and haven't done retail, it's a fucking miracle, okay? This is what he wrote. From a grocery store manager. I manage a grocery store. Here's some things everybody should know. I don't have toilet paper. I don't have sanitizer. I run out of milk, eggs, and meat every day. I promise, if it's out on the shelf, it's not in a hidden corner of our back room. These are the predictable ones. Now for the real stuff. I've been doing this 25 years. I did not forget how to order product. I did not cause the warehouse to be out of product. I schedule as much help as I have, including part-timers working tons of overtime to help you. I'm sorry there are lines at the checkout lanes. Now, for the really important stuff. My team puts themselves in harm's way every day so you can buy groceries. My team works tirelessly to get product on the floor for you to buy. My team is exhausted. My team is scared of getting sick. My team is human and does not possess an antivirus. They're in just as much danger as you are, arguably more, but they show up to work every day just so you can buy groceries. My team is tired. My team is very underappreciated. My team is exposed to more people who are potentially infected in 1 hour than most of you will in a week. Medical community excluded. God bless you for all you do. My team is abused all day by customers who have no idea how ignorant they are. My team disinfects every surface possible every day just so you can come in, grab a wipe from the dispenser, wipe the handle, and throw the used wipe in the cart or on the ground and leave it there so my team can throw it in the trash for you later. My team wonders if you wash your reusable bags that you force us to touch that are clearly dirty and have more germs on them than our shopping carts do. My team more than earns their breaks, lunches, and days off, and if that means you wait longer, I'm sorry. The last thing is this. The next time you're in a grocery store, please pause and think about what you're saying and how you're treating the people you encounter. They are the reason you are able to buy toilet paper, sanitizer, milk, eggs, and meat. If the store you go to is out of an item, maybe find a neighbor or friend that bought enough for a year. There's hundreds of those, and ask them to spare one or two. They caused this problem to begin with. And last, please thank the people who helped you. They don't have to come to work, but they do.
I saw that. That's actually really good. The other thing that's distressing, Scott, that I saw, that is the new occupation that is exploding with the coronavirus outbreaks. I think the grocery workers union reported like 3,000 cases of coronavirus.
They're exposed.
Yeah.
And if they're exposed, then there's that. All right.
So yeah.
Case
so
made, point made. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's good. No, they're heroes.
Yeah, and then some. No politics per se, because we've been there, and there's not that much going on anyway until the rest of this kind of swarms down. And in general life, hell, it's all about the corona. So to wrap it up on a semi-chuckle, instead of rim shots, let's do flu shots. All right. Facebook is offering a quiet mode setting, which is basically putting Facebook to sleep. So if you can't get at it, if you so desire, you can set it to not be available. Well, you could just not look at it, but we all know that's not going to happen. We have to have an app to tell us not to do something. But I was thinking about it, given what's going on with the quarantines and all that. I think the smartest app around right now would be the one that prevents you from getting into your refrigerator.
Hell yeah.
Boy, is there going to be some Jenny Craig selling going on in a while. NASA says that the lockdown has resulted in a 30% drop in air pollution. And millions and millions are expecting to breathe a lot easier come November 3rd.
Did you see the pictures of Los Angeles?
I did. I posted some of that. Yeah.
Phenomenal, yeah.
And the canals in Venice are crystal clear.
Yep.
And from India, you can see the Himalayas for the first time in like 50, 80 years, something like that.
Wow.
Nature's taking care of business, people. And George
if
Carlin's...
you look real hard, you can see my anus or your anus. Wait. There's a joke in there somewhere.
No, you don't get the joke for that. I'll give you this.
Hey, it's Corona time right now.
All right. Health experts say the reason you're fatigued after a day of doing nothing in lockdown is because doing nothing is exhausting. Now, that's what they're saying. I think that's bullshit, because if that was true, Donald and Pence and the Congress in its entirety would be too exhausted to get up off the floor. A Florida woman was arrested after putting 400 Easter eggs stuffed with porn and fish-shaped crackers in neighborhood mailboxes. Now, I thought about it for a good 7-8 minutes when I wrote that today, and I said, you know what? There's a punchline ready and waiting that has fish and the smell of Gwyneth Paltrow's candles, but I'm better. And what the fuck is wrong with Florida? A different Florida woman was spotted wearing a makeshift virus mask consisting of a pair of her panties. Now, I'm pretty sure she doesn't totally grasp the virus mask concept, but I'm very, very sure, very, very sure that her family doesn't grasp the whole concept of wedgies. You know, and I got to tell you, that looks like one of my ex-wives. I'm a little concerned that maybe she's gone round the bend, as they say. All right, that's all I got. You got anything else before we skedoodle out of here?
I got nothing. I'm fucking exhausted.
Yes, you are. Dave's exhausted, people. And the last thing you want to have to deal with is Dave being exhausted. So here's the thing. Dave, get some rest. And you know what? Watch this. I'm gonna take the pressure off Dave so he doesn't have to stand there. There you go. See how I did? See how I did that?
There you go.
There you go. But we can still hear him. It's exciting. It's a miracle. All right. We'll everybody wash your hands. Be nice to the people who are providing you services, or Dave's going to come after you. Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. And we'll see and hear you all next time on The Blab.
The Blab.